Welcome to the Andy and Friends podcast. I am your friend Andy, and in this episode of the podcast, I'm chatting with Blake from Musk Miners. Musk Miners is my go-to source for buying machines and hosting machines that are Bitcoin miners, script miners, altcoin machines, whatever. So in this episode, we talk about all those things, but we also talk about the challenges of starting and running and operating a hosting business, the pitfalls of running these machines, the pros, the cons. Should you be buying the coin? Should you be buying the machines? Will these things be worth more one day? Is this a good investment? Is this a great way to dollar cost average into things like Bitcoin? All that and more. So if you have questions, interests, etc. about buying miners and hosting them somewhere, then this is the episode for you. So let's jump into it. And here we are in this episode with Blake from Musk Miners. Hello, Blake.
It's good to be here.
How's it going? How's life?
It's really good. It's really good to be in Miami. Really good to be hanging out, truthfully.
Well, we're actually in Fort Lauderdale, but, whatever.
Sorry.
No big deal. What's the location?
Yeah, well, I mean, I like the sun. The sun helps a lot. Yeah, it's good to be here.
So, as we record this, we're here at Mining Disrupt, where it's all about Bitcoin mining and other mining. Bitcoin had hit an all-time high of 109,000 earlier this year. Bitcoin is no longer 109,000. It's under 90 now. Everything else in the market's kind of dropped a lot. And you run a hosting business. So there's a couple different ways I want to take this. But first, I want to kind of talk about that hosting business aspect because I imagine, and I know you've confirmed this, there's immense challenges when it comes to hosting. So I want to dig into that. So first off, why did you want to start a hosting business in the first place?
You know what? So I think to really break it down, the idea in running what we do is to stack Bitcoin. Not for ourselves, but for our clients, right? So we look at this and we see passive income, right? And if you have passive income opportunities and you can help other people achieve that, all of a sudden you have a business model. And that's exactly what we did, right? We went and we found cheap energy. And you've probably seen your videos where we went out to the LNG site and we did the flare gas and it was wonderful, right? And it was great to be able to pass along the passive income to the clients as well as make money for ourselves as a business. And so when we did that, we completely underestimated all the challenges that went along with it, right? And I don't think, it wasn't intentionally underestimated, obviously, but we just... you can't anticipate some of the challenges. No. I mean, I could list them off for a while, but I think the biggest ones, just starting with the market. I think what I recall the most about starting our very first site, you talk about why we started the business, you go into the first site. We were on site, we were putting this container together, you were there, right? And the market was tanking. I remember that I was thinking to myself, did we just start this operation as we peaked? And it turns out we did, which was, how do you anticipate that? How do you project that? How do you just don't, right? So what you do is you have to develop the model to be able to sustain, right? And how do you sustain? Well, you keep your clients making money. And so we did, right? We had to give cheap energy. We dropped our rates from 8.5 to 8, and we were on the flare gas. So it was really good that we were able to get low energy costs out of the gate. The other problem after you get the low energy cost became uptime, right? So if you don't keep your passive income flowing in the form of uptime, in the form of the computer running, then all of a sudden everybody loses. Just like if the market tanks, if you're not running, all of a sudden everybody loses, right? And so we endured that. It was very challenging because not only were the gen sets a problem, and I can dive into this deeper if you'd like me to, but we had heat issues, we had airflow issues. These miners are primarily ran on passive airflow with ambient air, right? I mean, if you're putting 110 degree ambient air into a computer and expecting it to go from, and this is wrong number, but if you want to bring 200 degree Fahrenheit temperatures down to a lower temperature, using 110 degree ambient air to do that is not going to be as efficient as if you can use 70 degree ambient air to cool it, right? That was the idea, but we had to do that in the Texas heat. it was just a struggle. So between the markets, between the gen sets, and between the heat, it was a challenge.
But with all these challenges, you get to learn some lessons and do better as long as you survive, which you have. Congratulations.
Yes.
You get to, keep existing, and you learn from those. Some are mistakes, some are just consequences of the changing times and markets and stuff. But there is a balance here, right? If you're on the mining side, if we zoom back to that time, as you made less and less money each month with your machines, we still were making, in terms of Bitcoin, far more than we make today.
Correct.
Like, I have many times more petahashes than I did at that time, but I'm making way less Bitcoins per month. So I guess it's all about perspective in that aspect. Okay, so a question that a lot of people always ask when it comes to like Bitcoin, mining hosts and stuff. If it's so profitable, if you're making so much money and whatever, if it's people are hosting their machines and making all this money, why do the hosts even offer that space to other people? Why don't they just mine themselves? How do you answer that, Blake?
It's a very good question, right? I think the simple answer is capital. You have to have a lot of money to put a lot of miners in a very big container, right? When we first started, we had a container that we could have put 300 computers in. At the time, those computers on average were $10,000. An S19 was running for, I think, brand new, they were around 15,000. I think the most I ever saw them go for was 19,000, around there. Like, it was.
I saw them over 25K. Yeah.
It's crazy.
At peak 2021.
It's insane, right? And granted, I think at the time, if I remember correctly, they were still making around $50 to $60 a day, right? I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, you were still making really good passive income. Granted, you were buying at the peak market, right? And so, I mean, 300 times do $10,000 per computer. You just can't get $3 million out of thin air, right? And so you think about this and you're like, okay, I go find cheap power. And you have a lot of this energy and you put a container there and it can hold 300 computers and you want to consume all the energy. But you don't have the money to do it. So you offer it. You offer up space, right? It's just like if you have a home and it's a really big apartment complex, for example, you can't live in all the apartments, right? And why would you want to unless somehow they were generating you income, right? So you put your clients in there. And so that's what we did. And as we've grown, I think one thing we've really tried to do is preach diversification in a mining standpoint, but also from a passive income standpoint. Eggs in baskets are so important, and just making sure that when you're looking at mining as a whole, if you're buying all of the miners and they're only mining a lithium, right, or Caspa, it's a very big risk. And so, when a client walks in today and they want to have some space, you say, look, try out a Bitcoin miner, right? Start with one unit. Just do one, because it's really great to have somebody dip their toes in and know what they're getting into. Because as I've grown and as I've been in this business long enough to know that diving in is scary and it's dangerous, right? If you jump in too deep, too fast, you lose really quickly. Maybe it's because of the markets. Maybe it's because the the coin's difficulty rises substantially. You mentioned we were printing a substantial more Bitcoin, and now you have way more hash power, and yet you're making less of it. But there's still an argument to be made that you simply have to recycle. Right, you have to recycle in a mining game. You have to look at this.
Very Captain Planet of you.
Yes, well, and that's kind of truthfully, I don't mean recycle in the sense of trying to be eco-friendly, but it's great when you are, like the flare gas. I love that. But the idea is, and I push this hard, is you get in low and you sell high. And if you can sell high, you can enter in low again. For example, if you jumped in with an S19 when BTC was really low, you're doing very well, especially if you exited at the top. Granted, timing the market's impossible. But take today, for example, right? Have we seen the peak of the bull run? Do you think I got to pass that question. Do you think we're there? Because I can play off that. You tell me.
Absolutely not. No.
We're
going to $1 million Bitcoin.
I love that.
Easy. Now, will that happen this year? I don't know about that.
Well, and so if you do that, if you look at it and you say, okay, we're not at the bull run, we're not even close to there. Let's say 1.5x the previous all-time high. Call the all-time high 70,000 the last bull run. I think it was like 69 something, whatever it was, right? let's equate 1.5x at 140 conservatively to $175,000 BTC.
I like it.
Right? If you buy in now and you roll up to $175,000 BTC, you can exit if that's your approximate bull run high, or you exit at 140. Your machine's price, if its profitability increases, will increase with it. The machine price will increase with profitability. And if you jump out and then you wait until BTC goes from 175 back down to 80, because it always does correct and it goes into its bear market. You buy at the bottom of the bear market, except you don't buy S21s, you buy S23s. Maybe you buy S25s. I don't know what's going to happen.
Are you pre-ordering S23s?
Yeah, no, not right. But like that's the strategy. That's the idea. But it's always so tempting to say, screw BTC. I'm only making a little bit of money. I'm going to dive into an altcoin and get burned. Like that's the scariest thing, I think. I'm not telling people not to mine altcoins. I'm just trying to preach diversity. So.
But even with the altcoin stuff, if you do go that route, there's ways you can mitigate some of that risk. You can take profits regularly instead of just stacking it all. You can take half your profits or all your profits that you're taking on the regular in Bitcoin versus, in the coin that you're mining. Or it's just what you're saying. It's kind of a multi-machine strategy where with all your Alephium, your Caspa, your script miners, you also have a bunch of Bitcoin miners, which is what I do. I totally get the idea that, filling a container with a bunch of machines, super expensive. That's why, the people who set up to just be miners on their own and not hosts, that's why they do that, because they have huge investors and whatever. But someone like you, who's just wanting to be, the host, more or less, you don't have, it's very expensive to do that. So you have other people rent the space like an apartment. Totally understand it. But is there also like a risk if you weren't hosting other people, like there's an inherent risk of you relying on the income from the machines and the fluctuations in the market that maybe you don't want as much exposure to, so you leave that to other people who are willing to speculate? Is there some of that in it too?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think, as a company, you can't operate on volatility. Normally, companies can operate very well on predictability and being able to project income, right? If you can get hosting contracts, there's no secret that if a client signs with us and they sign a 12-month contract, we know we have income for hosting for 12 months. That's super helpful as a business. It helps us operate.
Yep.
If I buy a miner and I'm mining, $10 a day today, and then it drops, if I have a lot of those and I'm depending on that income as a business, you just can't operate with the downturn on volatility. Granted, when the times are good and that $10 goes to 20, that's great, but you can't depend on that all the time, is what I'm saying. So much like I just preached for miners in the sense of diversification, you have to preach the same thing as a business owner, right? You have to diversify in your income strategy, and that's what's allowed us to survive. Hosting for us is not the most lucrative. We don't margin a substantial amount at all, but we've still been able to project the income, know the income is coming in, so that we can plan for the future, right? And that's so helpful. And if you can plan for that, then if you're lucky enough and you survive well enough, you can hold the BTC that you mine. I mean, that's like the best thing that you can do in my sense. But you made a really good point that if you sell often enough and take profits, that's very respectable. I have a lot of colleagues that sell BTC every week, every day, whatever it is, no matter the price, because they're taking their profits and they're running a business. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that the whole predictability for a business like that's really important. And me as someone who does not rely on my Bitcoin mining income, I just stacked it all. I just, not selling anytime soon. I don't need that. I'm willing to have an outlay of capital each month that goes to my hosting bill. Stack the rest. I don't need the money. So it doesn't matter how volatile it is, in my opinion, and in my strategy. But if that was my entire business, if I need to pay my mortgage and other things based on the income, well, then I would probably want it to be more predictable, and maybe that wouldn't be the best thing. But yeah, from a business standpoint, that makes sense. Okay, so you started a hosting business. What are a couple of things that it's like crazy challenges you've encountered doing this that you just wish you knew when you first started that are obvious now?
Yeah. Well, I think, I explained a couple of them, but the biggest one that comes to mind is the Ukrainian war, the Russia-Ukraine war. I had no idea how much of an impact it would have on our business, because not only did Russia get sanctioned, so we didn't get burned, but there was a lot of people out there who had miners in Russia that just got completely cut off and lost all their computers. Guys who took out loans to buy these computers that got burned. I mean, it just really, really unforeseen stuff that was super detrimental. But the problem with the biggest impact with the war was it increased electrical prices in the United States. It increased natural gas, the cost, right? So that played into the energy cost that you'd see. And maybe the wholesale costs approximately went from, you get it for 4.2 cents on grid, it went about to 5.7, sometimes 6.5. 1 to 2 pennies per kilowatt hour was nuts, right? And guys lost their contracts. They, like, in the sense that the contracts just got ripped up on the table, right? Like utility companies and would sit there and just say, we can't service you at this rate. And then companies failed. That's something I had zero clue would ever have such an impact, such a global turmoil that would impact my tiny little business, right? Granted, at the time that we started, we were just trying to make it, and so granted, you pivot, which is what we did at the time. Doing the natural gas thing was super helpful because we weren't necessarily as impacted by that, and so now things have settled down. With that, which was really good for everybody involved, because you see all the utility companies now offering really good energy prices in states that can do it. But I'd have to say that was the biggest one. But there's also been ones that you can look at it as challenging for other people, but it was super helpful for us. China outlawing Bitcoin mining in 2021. You look at it now, America is close to 50% of all mining in the world because of that, right? And so that's growing every single day. It's allowing us to have the demand to continue to expand. It's allowing cohorts to do the same thing, and it's keeping this industry within the United States. That's a really cool thing. Never foresaw that happening, right? So yeah, just global events we just never saw, so. Yeah.
What about machine issues? One, how long let's talk about Bitcoin mining. How long does the average machine, how long does a machine last on average? Okay. And then 2, what are the most common issues they have in that period, and how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so I think, we approximate the machines at 4 to 5 year life cycle. It depends on the halving, it depends on the price of the markets. I like to say, if Bitcoin went to $1 million today, you could run your S19s for 10 years, right?
So when you say life cycle, you mean primarily the profitability life cycle.
You can
the
look
machine,
at it.
The hardware itself could potentially last a very long time.
In some instances, yes. The hardware itself can be fixed like a car if it's not detrimental to the machine, right? You can fix temp sensors. You can normally fix a hash board. There are instances where you cannot. You can swap out PSUs. You can swap out control boards. You can treat it like a car to an extent, but just like a car, if your transmission goes out, sometimes it just doesn't make sense to replace it. Mechanically, yes, we could see machines last a long time, but the profitability, I think, needs to be focused on as well, right? Because if it's not profitable, you're not going to run it, even if it's capable of being ran. With that in mind, the halving is everything in a lot of instances, because we see profitability get cut in half, right? And when that happens, if you don't see a good pickup in the market, sometimes just profit's not lucrative enough to keep things running. As things progress, if BTC went to $1 million, it would be crazy. And people think, well, hash price would, go way down because difficulty would increase substantially, right? The idea is BTC goes to $1 million, miners get plugged in all over that were really old, that were not profitable, but are now. I don't think that would be the case, because there's no space, because infrastructure and energy systems can only be built so fast. And truthfully, utility companies really like to drag their feet, and they work like bankers, truthfully, right? They're very slow. They do things by their own book, and you have to jump through a lot of hoops and go through a lot of red tape, truthfully, depending on the state and the county. With that in mind, I think a lot of really, really, really good mechanical issues within the mining community need to be sorted through, but profitability is probably the biggest variable. So.
Yeah, that's interesting theory about the capacity for running the machines, because if you have a couple of older units at your house, like what's the maximum amount of units you can run on a standard like household 100 or 200 amp connection? You can only probably run a couple beyond capacity would have to go somewhere else where there's infrastructure for that, and that is space is limited, and that's a whole capitalistic market of whoever has the best prices, this and that. Okay, that's interesting. So now talking about the machine issues, how do you handle that stuff? So what if a fan it dies, you can probably you replace that yourself at the facilities. What are the things you can do yourself? When do you have to send it to somebody? Do you have a third party person come? Do you send it off to the manufacturer? How do you fix these things?
I think the best solution normally would be to send it to the manufacturer to keep it within warranty. Mm-hmm. But there are simple things like you mentioned. Changing out fans are very easy. You can change out control boards. You can change out PSUs. Sometimes you can do a little bit adjustments on the ribbon cables for the hash boards. But when it comes to a hash board, if you have a bad temp sensor, if you have some trouble on some soldering or some just ASIC chips, right? Those are always best worked on by the Bitmain repair centers. We've seen different models have different problems, and that also varies between manufacturers. We've been really, really encouraged by the potential of American-made machines, Bitcoin miners, and I'm a little bit nervous because I want to know what the quality is, like Aradyne, right? American manufacturer, things of that nature. What's the quality, right? Have they operated in -20? Have they operated in 110? Can they operate in those conditions? We know Musk Miners can. We know Bitmain products can. But could Bitmain products and Musk Miner products get better with competition like Aradyne? Absolutely, because we need more competition to influence better production, better quality.
How many of those manufacturers are there right now?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I mean, I can name off, I could go, so you go Bitmain, go Musk Miner, go Ice River, Canon, and then we can call Aradyne. I saw some in the conference. I saw one that was called Seal Miner. I think BitDeer came out with their own version. How many of those are white labels of an already made product? That's really hard to tell.
But even a couple of those, like Ice River, you might not even consider, because they don't do any Bitcoin machines. So really, the pool of Bitcoin mining manufacturers is what, 3 or 4 major names?
Slim.
Maybe absolutely. A couple on the periphery.
Right, you're absolutely right. And so I don't know. I don't know what the true bottleneck on that is, right? Like, what's stopping Andy from going out and starting a Bitcoin miner production?
A lot of things is the answer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly,
number one being a desire.
It's probably very challenging. The problem, outside of everything that we talked about with problems, having a U.S. manufacturer would be helpful, because you just don't deal with the import tariffs. That's not even something we've touched on yet, right? Like import tariffs, just having it in the country. Let's do that instead of dealing with CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, because they also work like bankers or worse. They just kind of do whatever they want. There's been instances where we've had miners, like I had 3 KS5 stuck in customs since last July, and no communication, nothing. Send them letters, nothing.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're going to be there forever.
I feel like in talking to you, that has been one of the more recent major hurdles, and that's not unique to you. That's anybody who's bringing in machines into the country, and it seems like it's kind of a mess.
It's a very they're very muddy waters, because you don't have guidance, and specifically with that, time is money in this industry. And say you do things by the book, you do everything, and you declare everything properly. You don't under declare, and you ship properly. Well, maybe they just want to inspect, but that inspection takes 3 months, right? That's time lost, money lost. That has happened. With that, there's been a really interesting approach to under declaration. It's no secret that shipping these computers in that are valued at $10,000 to $20,000 and they're being wrote on the invoice as $200, just to avoid the 25% tariff. And it makes sense, but it's not the receiver who's going to get hit. It's not the shipper who's going to get hit. It's the receiver, right? If I get a miner, I have to deal with that because I don't get the product, right? That's been the biggest issue with that. But yeah, I really think a U.S.-based manufacturer would be really helpful, but we have to make sure the quality is there.
So with the machines that get stuck for months or a year or something, what do you do? Do you order again and get a replacement and you just have to eat some of that? Like, how do you have to, okay.
Yeah. What else can you do, right? If a client orders something from us and I say, well, it's in customs, see you later. No, it doesn't work like that, right? That's not what we can do as a business. So we've replaced them. That's a huge cost for us because not only does it cost us to initially order it, we have to order it again, and then that's time and money lost. We have you want repeat business by delivering really good customer service and in a quick way. That doesn't happen when those things happen because you just incur delays after delays after delays, and then you don't have an answer during the process. And the customer's like, what's going on? I can't truly say what's going on a lot of the time because I'm in the dark.
Yep.
Right. We've now found a really good route. We've found really good contacts within the CBP, if you will, not necessarily direct with them, but when we've done that, it's given us a good process. I think we've gone through it enough now that we can, work through it. So I think it's getting better. I do, but it was a big challenge. It still is. So
if you're buying these machines from, not everybody wants to host. Or if they do want to host, they find someone someone who will accept outside units or something, and they try to save money and they go with any number of resellers. There's lots of really good resellers. I don't personally have much experience with a lot of them, but what is this always the case with the resellers? Is it more often the case? Is it less often the case where if it gets stuck, they're holding your hand and helping you through the process? Is like good luck on your own? Like what normally happens?
It's a good question, and I think it's hard to answer without bad mouthing individual entities or companies or whatever.
Just call them out by name.
Slander them. No, I think there are entities that you can purchase from that are resellers that are better than others, and it's no secret that. Should it happen, they won't send replacements. They won't take ownership and be like, hey, sorry, we underdeclared it, so here, we'll send you a replacement. And that's not going to happen. Should it? I wish it would, but we've now learned that you just have to you have to do things a certain way and just pay the money. That's the biggest factor that everybody overlooked. It's like, well, what if we have to pay $2,500 for a tariff? Then you have to pay $2,500 for a tariff. There are two things in life that are guaranteed: death and taxes. Right? Taxes will never go away.
Well, taxes, sure. Death, I don't know. I think I'm going to get around that one.
So I think there are certain resellers that will do better than others, but I will tell you that when you're trying to be cautious and if you're a home miner, everybody will tell you that they all have customs figured out and they don't have any problems. Everybody says that. That's not true. If you're shipping miners, you're going to have problems. That's it. I truly believe that. I don't know of any colleagues cohorts that have not had issues unless they just stopped importing, which is strategic as well.
So I'm somebody who is always going to support somebody who wants to buy a machine, send it to their house, get up, the right plug and the right, way to deal with the heat and the airflow and the noise and all that stuff. And you want to home mine, that's awesome. I've done it. I love it. But not everyone wants to do that. So, are those actually challenges? Like, is it actually hard stuff to deal with at home? Is it not that big of a deal? Like, why would you consider hosting with you or someone else who's a hosting company versus running it at home?
One of the reasons we started this business was to overcome that problem because it was so big. We noticed that clients loved to plug them in at home, and I still encourage that today with small box miners, right? I think Caspa miners were really great, and even some Cadino miners were really great for that. I used little Caspa box, KA boxes to heat my garage this winter, which was wonderful. But when you get an S21, my wife hated them because they're loud. They're as loud as an outside AC unit, but with a really high pitch frequency that carries through the house, almost like a ringing. They're very hot. You can heat a room with one miner very quickly from 70 degrees Fahrenheit to 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
3,000 plus watts of, an average space heater. They're all restricted to 1,500 watts because it has to be that 80% overhead in a 1,850 watt outlet, so it's 1,500 watts. These things are twice that and very loud. Yes.
Correct.
You can mitigate the loudness with big ducted fans and stuff, but it makes the units even larger and more unwieldy. So you just have to figure out the ins and outs. Maybe if you're a tinkerer, that's all fun. But then I think the big thing, once you get past the hurdles of dealing with dealing with the heat and the noise and all that, and the spot for it, and the infrastructure of the electricity, the cost of electricity, which does it exist places in the world that you can get cheaper than 8 cents per kilowatt hour? Or if you're a Sleep Money Club Legendary member, 7.5 cents per kilowatt hour with Musk Miners.
That's very true.
Yes, but 8 cents is still half the price of the average electrical rate in the U.S. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, half the price of the average residential rate. You're absolutely right, and that's the other issue, right? You plug it in, you mitigate the noise, you mitigate the heat, and then all of a sudden you're paying a boatload of money.
Yeah.
And granted, there are situations where maybe you have a warehouse and you run your business out of that warehouse, and your energy bill is a write-off anyway. That's a great way. That's a great thing where you just plug in a miner.
I know zero people with warehouses.
Well, if you, yeah, nice. Shout out Space Design Warehouse, right?
Yes, who may or may not be in the room with us as we speak.
Yeah, he may not be just sitting in the corner, just hanging out.
I can't think of anything clever.
So I think, with all that considered, we started this to give everybody the ability to mine, and that was because it was hard to do at home. And but you're right. It's super encouraging to see people support the network from home. I still love to see it.
So with Bitcoin mining, the latest units that I have purchased from you are S21 XPs, 270 terahash. Is that the unit to buy? If you want to mine Bitcoin right now, you're watching this as we speak. Hello, you're watching it. Thank you for watching the video. Is that the unit they should buy, or what? Like, what's one of the best values in terms of like efficiency and hash rate when it comes to Bitcoin mining right now?
Yeah, I love the word value. I think the value is actually not in the latest and greatest. There are two things you want to focus on. It's profitability and efficiency. Efficiency just being you consume less energy with the amount of terahash that you have. The best value unit is going to be the S21 Pro 234 terahash, simply because it is not the latest and greatest. The latest and greatest of a product, I always compare this to a vehicle. It's like buying a 2025 versus a 2024 or a 2023 vehicle. You just don't pay the premium that's tacked on simply because it's the latest and greatest. I encourage clients to go with the S21 Pro 234 because it has the same efficiency as the 270, except it doesn't carry the price premium.
Yeah,
that's going to be your best value. Granted, we do have clients that want the 270s because they want the latest and greatest. That's fine. But I just don't think that increase from 234 to 270 justifies that premium on price. But then there's also the step below that, which would be the S21 200 terahash, which is fine. I wouldn't go anything below that, though.
Yeah.
Right? I think you'd lose efficiency.
I recently ran the calculation, and at today, this was a week or two ago, but at the prices I was looking at, S21s at your hosting electric rate is still profitable, but you can buy two S21s, or you can buy a single S21 XP 270, and they both give you the same amount of profit per month, but the regular S21s, getting 2 of those for the price of the one XP, you're paying double the hosting rate to get the same profitability. So it sounds like the Pro is a step above which S21s are still efficient compared to S19s. It's all relative, but it's more efficient than those, but doesn't carry the price tag and a slightly low 40 terahash is not slight, but it's 34 terahash over the base S21. So is that sweet spot maybe?
Yeah, you're correct. Yep, absolutely. And there's other ways to look at this too. I think there's an argument to be made for the L9s as well. Talking about the S21s are great models because you can mine Bitcoin with them. You can mine Bitcoin with the L9s also. Right? Indirectly, correct, right? You put them on a pool like Power Pool, right? And when you do that, you're still mining the altcoins that an L9 would mine, except you're being paid in Bitcoin, just getting auto converted and sent to you in BTC in the same amount in dollars worth of BTC. I love that, right? Because I'm a BTC maximalist. I don't mine any altcoins. I only hold Bitcoin, and that's it. But some people want to mine Bitcoin, and some people want to run an L9 because it's more profitable, right? You make more money with an L9 than you do an S21 Pro XP 270 terahash. I can't argue with that. Yeah. Granted, it's more expensive, but some people, again, like the most profitable, the latest and greatest, which would be the L9 when considering Litecoin miners. So.
Yeah, I don't know if they also support the different payouts, but another great pool. Yeah, BTC.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
On the hat.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
I don't know, but they do. That's another reason to consider them. L9s, love L9s because I'm bullish on Dogecoin. If we hopefully have the bull run we were all expecting, because it's just such a well-known entity. But I know quite a few people who mine with them. And then they get paid half in Doge, and they stack that for later because they think it's going to be at $1 plus in the future, which is very conceivable in a true bull run scenario. And then the other half, they just get paid out in Bitcoin. And because the L9s, which are not Bitcoin miners, they're script miners, so they're meant for mining Litecoin and Doge and then like 14 other things. But the profitability right now, at least, is higher. So you can kind of mine Bitcoin. You're actually supporting the network, but you can mine Bitcoin indirectly and get paid out in Bitcoin. So that's another strategy. But maybe, like we've already talked about, the play is you do an L9, you do an S21, you get a couple of each to hedge your bets, because there's no guarantee that the profitability of a script miner is going to continue over the next couple months. It might completely bottom out because everybody's excited about it.
Yes.
Okay, so S21 Pro maybe is the sweet spot if you're considering that right now.
234s.
234s.
Yes.
There's multiple Pro.
Yeah, I think it's, if I recall, it's S21 Pro 234 and then the S21 Pro XP 270.
Okay, right, yeah.
Yep.
The Pro 234 is maybe the sweet spot right now. Now, what about a consideration between those two, the Pro and the XP, when it comes to flipping? Because one of the things I'm really excited about, and we'll see, I might be wrong, which I readily admit in all the videos when I talk about this, but watching last cycle, watching multiple generation old machines blow up in value when Bitcoin blew up in value, was like, hey, maybe this will happen again. So if that were to happen again, do you think both of those are going to carry extreme premiums? Do you think it really matters materially between the two when it comes to flipping them?
It's a good question. No, I don't think it matters. I just don't. I think what you need to be doing is playing the game when that happens. You have to be involved in the mining market. You have to just have a miner. It will increase when the profitability increases, because we know the price, the value of the miner goes up. Its worth goes up when its profitability goes up. I think there might be an argument to be made that the 270 and the 234 will increase much more substantially than the 200T or any of the S19 series. I think I might agree with that argument. But if you're holding a 234 or a 270 at this point and BTC starts to fly and it hits $1 million, I think you're going to have the most gains on those two units, because they're the most. Those two are the most latest and greatest. They are the latest and greatest, right?
But when it comes to timing this, though, riding that trend, buying low, selling high.
Yeah.
Let's talk shorter term, though.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to buy one of these machines. A year from now, I want to flip them, and they're going to be worth more, maybe, or at least they didn't go down as much in price, maybe went back up. But some people are like, okay, I'm going to wait. We were just at $100,000 Bitcoin. I'm going to wait till it goes to 80,000. I'm going to buy these machines at an extreme discount before it goes back up again. Does the price of machines? I mean, I feel like I know the answer, but I want to hear from somebody who's looking at the price all the time. Does the price of machines very quickly reduce as Bitcoin's price reduces? Does it very quickly go up with Bitcoin's price? How does that correlation actually function in the real world?
Yeah, so I do have to explain this to clients often, right? Because if you're trying to time the market, which is a very strategic thing to do when purchasing miners, because you would assume if the price of the unit, the worth of the unit goes up, if the profitability goes up, shouldn't the opposite happen if the markets go down? Bitcoin drops from 100,000 to 70,000. The price of an S21 should drop substantially, you would think, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is that it just doesn't, because it's controlled by a monopolized market of ASIC producers that don't like to drop the price, but they sure do love to increase the price. So the way that I talk about this is, if you're sitting there and you're looking at the price of an S21 and Bitcoin goes up to the point where maybe you gain $3 to $4 a day in profitability, you can darn well really quickly bet that that price of the unit to buy will increase. Opposite, if you see the profitability decrease by $4 to $5 a day, you won't see a decrease in the machine's price for probably 2 weeks, and that decrease after 2 weeks will not be near what you would have seen on the increase. It'll be maybe 10% of that, 20% of that, fractions of it, right? And so the decrease is always slower, and the increase is always immediate. It's a really challenging thing, because the argument by the sellers and the suppliers, they say that if it drops, it can recover really quickly. But they don't say, well, if it goes up, it could go back down, right? They don't look at it that way. Yeah. So yeah, it's a challenge. There's just no question. But you have to wait 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. In the last bull run, when it went from the top to the bottom, we saw machine prices drop so slowly, it was ridiculous. Yeah. But we have seen, when Doge pumped, when Trump got into office, and the Doge Department of Government Efficiency was formed, and the coin, Dogecoin, pumped like crazy, we saw L9s go up like $5,000 in one night. I mean, just insane. Yep. Because Dogecoin had risen 40 to 50% overnight because of all the government, everything, right? So we've seen these drastic price increases, but I've never seen an L9 drop $5,000 overnight. You know what I mean?
I feel like the altcoin machines, they have even more dramatic swings, because the coins themselves have such because they're so small in comparison to Bitcoin. So basically, if you want to time it, if you want really deep discounts, you're gambling, because you have to, for even it's a small discount, a couple weeks. But if you want like bigger discounts, you're going to have to keep waiting. So you're basically gambling and betting that Bitcoin will continue to either stay low and profitability stay low, or keep dropping over time in order to get bigger savings. So, I don't know. What's the recommendation when someone's asking you about this? Is it just like, no time like the present, or what?
It's hard, yeah. No time I would say no time like the present, but the problem is, say it drops, right? Say you're waiting and it does drop, and you're like, yes. For me personally, when I see that happen, I all of a sudden have this little thought in the back of my head. It's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't buy this because it dropped so much. You know what I mean? Like, it's scary. It becomes more emotional. Yeah. And I'm a terrible emotional investor. I think the best strategy that I've had is dollar cost average, which that is what Bitcoin mining is. You're literally buying Bitcoin at a discount every single day when you're mining it. And then you simply don't try to time the markets when you are looking at a short-term perspective. I think a long-term perspective is okay to say, we know the bull market occurs, we know the bear market occurs. From a really broad overall futuristic outlook, you know it's going to go up and you know it's going to come down. I don't know if it's going to go to 175. I don't know if it's going to go to 250. I don't know if it's going to go to 1 million. But what I know is going to go up, right? But if you can exit decently up, and then you enter decently down, I think that's a lot easier to do than trying to buy a $106,000 Bitcoin instead of $110,000 Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like, if you time it on a short term, it's really challenging, and I've always lost when I've attempted that every single time. So no time like the present. That's a good answer.
As a totally non-biased person who might own a hosting company, What should people do? What's better, buying Bitcoin directly or mining Bitcoin?
Both. You have to do both. You have to find a way to diversify, because we've preached that this whole podcast, right? If you buy some BTC and you buy some miners, then you're DCAing, dollar cost averaging every single day with your miners, and then you're holding the amount of BTC that you bought, right? So not only do you have immediate exposure, you're getting long-term exposure over time, and then you're supporting the network. I have a lot of clients that say, I don't really care if I make money, I just want to support the network. Granted, everybody wants to make money, but you get my point, right? I would encourage both. I would encourage diversification. I would encourage people, if they have a budget to enter the mining market, to, again, diversify with maybe some script miners, maybe some SHA-256 Bitcoin miners, whatever floats your boat,
If someone is thinking they want to mine Bitcoin or something else, they want to get a machine with you and they want to host it with you, how few can they buy? What's the minimum?
Just one. Right, I said that earlier. Dip your toes in, right? But we have clients that start with 5. We have clients that start with 1. We have clients that over time they just slowly add. It's all about your personal strategy, your tolerance for risk, and then also earning trust with us. Like, we know that the majority of time, a client walks through the door, they don't know who we are. And this industry it's got a lot of scammers. We are in the wild west of cryptocurrency, right? And so we have to earn our clients' trust. And often, I have a client say, hey, I have $100,000 to invest. What should I do? And how can I trust you? That's their biggest question. I was like, just do one unit. Just do one unit. Let us earn your trust. You know what I mean? So happy to do that. Happy to take large orders. Happy to do anything. Just want to earn their trust and then have really good uptime.
Yeah. Don't buy units with them just because I buy my units and host my units with them. But do put that into your decision tree. Let that have a little bit of weight, and once you do your own research and dip your toe in yourself. But I've been with Musk with you for almost 3 years.
I was thinking close to 4.
Not quite. I think it's almost 3 at this point.
All right. Feels really long.
We age rapidly in this space, there's little snags here and there, which I expect with anybody, but it's always been handled, in a very professional way. So that's why I keep talking to you and featuring you in videos and stuff, because I've had a great, experience, and it's been a very proven track record for me and people I've talked to.
We appreciate
that. Definitely, like if you're on the fence with this kind of thing, always think about how you can lower your risk profile, and maybe that's buy a unit, see how it goes for a few months, test the waters, see what you think, and then add more. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So if they want to do that, should they email you? Should they call you? What should they do?
All of the above. Right. Happy to hop on a call. Happy to, I think an inquiry on the website's great. store@muskminers.com is a really good email. My phone number is listed on the website too, because I love taking phone calls. I love talking to clients and giving them a time of day, because that is needed in this industry. I think too often we just have individuals just get pushed to the side without the really good communication and explanation. Similar to what we talked about today, I've explained a lot of this on a lot of intro calls, right? Just helping people understand the markets. store@muskminers.com is really great, and then phone numbers listed and inquiries on the website. So.
Yeah, I don't know how sustainable it will be. Like once we get into a true bull market and there's lots of demand and stuff. But my go-to recommendation for people who want to reach out to you is text the number on the website, and they'll actually
get to me.
Because I feel like that's a very rare thing in this space. There's a phone number on the website for you. And you can actually just right there text, the person behind all of Musk Miners. You can chat with them immediately, which is pretty cool. Again, we'll see how sustainable that is once things speed up.
I will drop a shameless plug. Right, we are in the Sleep Money Club as well.
Yes.
Right, so you can reach us there in the Sleep Money Club.
Yes. If you tag Blake in Sleep Money Club, you will also be able to chat with him. You're pretty quick.
I get a little bit of anxiety when I see that little blip come up. I'm like, I gotta answer. So I try.
Not only that, but there's the Your Friend Andy discount if you want to buy a unit that everybody has access to. But if you want the even deeper discounts, not just on the machines themselves, the price, but also on the hosting.
Correct.
Half a cent per kilowatt hour, which adds up over time.
7.5 cents is a really good rate.
It is a great rate.
Really good rate.
It's better than any of the people who've I've looked at as other options for hosting. As a legendary member, you get access to that, which is pretty cool. So, if they email or if they text, that's you. If they email, are they going to be talking to you? Is there somebody else they're going to be talking to at Musk?
Email, they're going to be talking to Oscar, who is very good at what he does, and he's actually probably more responsive than I am. He's really, really good at what he does, and we're very proud to have him on board. So.
Yeah. And then Chris is the other one.
Well, Chris just had I don't know. Should I share that? Right? Chris is a new father, right?
Okay.
And so, Nick's over there. Yeah.
Congratulations,
Chris. That was 4 years ago. Chris, Chris is wonderful as well. Chris does all of our billing, so if you have a billing question, you can reach out to Chris. He takes phone calls too, and just does really, really good work for us. So, but he is in the sleepless nights stage.
Yes.
Currently.
Okay. Well, so in that case, you'll probably mostly talk to Blake or Oscar.
Yeah, we'll
Either one, I highly recommend speaking with.
Yeah.
I will leave links, of course, to all things Musk Miners related down in the description, including probably one of my videos on the main channel where I talk about my mining journey and all that, which I have another video coming soon on the mining journey updates. Almost 3 years of it. Any last words?
Just happy to be here. Happy to have you as a client. This has been a really fun adventure.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I'm so grateful for where we are because we've been through all these ups and downs in the markets, learned so much. Just really happy to be here. Just been a lot of fun.
Love it. Well, thank you very much for listening. If you're here, hello. Greetings, say hi in the chat, the comments. Thank you for listening in on this episode of the podcast. Always enjoy these deeper discussions, and I will see you in the next episode.